The Prime Minister has returned to a long-running battle over religious freedom laws. The reworked legislation will go to Parliament next week. Let's go live to Trudy McIntosh now. Trudy, this has been a contentious proposal. It was dropped during the last term. How likely is it that this will pass by the end of the year?
Well, Laura, it seems unlikely that the government's going to be able to get it through in the next fortnight, given how contentious this issue has been within the coalition. But that's the aim. This was an election promise in 2019, and the government's trying to show that it is meeting that commitment. Under Christian Porter, the former Attorney General, this bill stalled. There was simply too much division within Parliament to actually get it through. Michaelia Cash, the new Attorney General, trying to reach a compromise by watering down elements within the legislation. She briefed coalition MPs on the details, included a 5-page summary, but many want to wait until they've actually seen the wording of the legislation before they could say if they will cross the floor or support the government's bill. So what is in fact changing without the legislation being made public? We're forced to rely on leaks from MPs, and this is some of the things that have been briefed out. It's a scrapping of the Folau clause. Now, that was designed to give legal protections to employees for making religious statements outside of work. It was named for the football player Israel Folau, who was sacked by Rugby Australia over that social media post. There's also a scrapping of the medical denial of services clause, so people can't be refused access to medical treatments, including abortion, on the basis of the religious beliefs of the person administering it. Finally, the preferential hiring provisions, they will remain, so that's allowing hospitals and schools that are run by religious groups to preferentially hire people who share their same religious view. As always in this religious freedoms debate, the details, Laura, are so critical. That's going to be the difference between moderate Liberal MPs being willing to vote for this or crossing the floor. But it's the same on the Conservative side. If they believe this has been watered down too much, you could also have pushback there.
Yeah, really interesting to see where this ends up. But Trudy, what can we expect from the two leaders today in this unofficial election campaign?
Well, Scott Morrison will be delivering this address at the Sydney Dialogue. His focus today is on critical emerging technologies. He's going to be outlining the blueprint there and announcing a $100 million investment in quantum technologies. The focus here, trying to get Australia to be a leading technology in quantum in terms of the Indo-Pacific. The unspoken word in all of this is always China. This is designed to counter China having a real stranglehold over these technologies, which are going to be so critical. The Labor leader, for his part today, though, has a cash splash announcement when it comes to the NBN. He's shelving the plans of immediately privatising NBN Co, instead injecting $2.4 billion to make the internet faster for 1.5 million households and businesses by 2025. Here was the Labor leader on that announcement.
It's a great example of where the government's gone wrong, replacing the fibre rollout of NBN with last century's copper technology, which simply isn't up to the task. Can you believe this government has purchased 60,000 kilometres of copper wire, enough to wrap around the earth 1.5 times in the 21st century? That's outdated.
The NBN has been used as a political football for some time by both major parties, and with an election on the cards, there's no sign of that ending. The government today, via Communications Minister Paul Fletcher, says Labor needs to explain exactly how this money is going to be raised within NBN Co. But worth noting, this is off-budget spending, and Labor's total for that, Laura, up until now is $47 billion. It's a way of making these big cash splash announcements but not actually having to find massive tax offsets to pay for them.
Interesting indeed. Good question, Trudy. Thanks so much.